Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to our last panel discussion of the day. I'm very pleased to welcome on stage our 4 experts around the topic of Web3, blockchain, Metaverse, and how does all this connect with the watchmaking industry.
David? Great. Good afternoon, everybody. And as the last panel of the day, we have a rather fascinating topic. For an industry known for its centuries-old craft and traditions, what could these bleeding-edge technologies do and offer? And for a connected future, what could this look like for customers? So let's hear it from our guests over here. So we have got 2 specialists in the digital space and a forward-thinking watch brand sitting with us today. And welcome, Fabian. Fabian Lopez is head of Innovation Lab for Deloitte, Switzerland. And they have just done a full-scale implementation of these technologies with a whole model for a luxury watch brand. And then next to Fabian, welcome, Fabian. And then next to Fabian is Xavier de Hucamura, and from Chapak and Company. And it is one of the hottest independent brands with some of the most desirable watches around. And they are actually exhibiting here, so check them out at the end of the panel. Welcome, Xavier.
Thank you.
And then we have David, David Zadi. He's also a specialist, and David is founder and CEO of DLG, Digital Luxury Group, who actually serves as digital partner for some of the lifestyle and luxury brands. And David himself has got more than 20 years experience in advising clients in the digital marketing, e-commerce across the world, including in China. So welcome, David.
Thank you and good afternoon again.
So we are going to discuss, first of all, what are these technologies, actually doing and for the industry, and what do they mean? And I think to break it down for maybe, some of us don't even have a clue what they are, perhaps we'll bring in an expert in this field, Fabian, to explain what they are for the industry.
Okay, I will try to make it understandable and very simple. For some of you that do not know about what is Web3, this is the evolution of the internet. The Web 1 was reading the pages. The second version of the web was reading and writing. So that was Twitter and social media being launched. And now Web3 is about writing, reading, and owning. So in your experience toward the internet, it's about owning some space, some land, some device, some skins for the gamer. So the Web3 is about a new interaction with the internet, and that the profound change and evolution that cannot be bypassed and should not be considered as a trend. The blockchain part, the second component of the discussion, blockchain is about storing in a protected way any information, digital information that are enabling the luxury watch industry to authenticate the watch, to authenticate the servicing of the watches. It's about tracking the product and making sure that they are authentic. For the Metaverse, the last component of this discussion, Metaverse is our interaction with a virtual world. This is done via different channels. It can be on your mobile, on your laptop, with the Google approach. So the VR headset is only 10% of the consumption, so it's just a stereotype about what is a metaverse. A metaverse can be augmented reality, so when you are looking with your mobile towards a physical product and you see something appearing on your mobile that is not existing, you have the virtual world, which are more the gaming platform at the moment, which are a deep trend about the next generation to engage and interact, moving from the internet toward the virtual world. This is a kind of experience that people can address. And here we are looking at how can we leverage those technologies to make the customer experience to own a watch, to interact with a watch, to discover a watch, as we are seeing here, in a new way, in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, fantastic. That is so clear. And Xavier, I know that you have seen some of the advantages blockchain can offer. So you've decided to do a certification program to authenticate your watches. Obviously, a lot of them are limited editions, really, really precious, and you want to be able to trace them to keep their value and offer customers, the way to, identify, where they got it from and all of that. So what was the purpose for you to decide to go ahead as an independent brand?
Well, it all started with friends. And when we revived Chapek, even though it was an old brand, it was a startup company. And as a startup, you need to be connecting with a lot of people.
True.
I mean, your fate as a startup is to disappear. You have no client, no founding, no nothing. So you shouldn't succeed. But by connecting, you find solutions. And connecting with other startups, I mean, I was a student of the CTI, now InnoSuisse. I met other startups, and one of them actually moved to another startup, which was in the blockchain. So he came to me one day saying, hey, you got some beautiful watches. Why don't you change your certificates to digital certificates? I got some guys with whom I work, and they have a company called Adresta, and you could start this direction. And we immediately clicked, because same spirit, and that was very important for us. They were a startup too. And secondly, I mean, it's great. Everybody loves to see the certificates we do. It's a passport, actually, a sort of a replica of the Swiss passport, except it's in blue. And I sign it, I sign each of them. It's handwritten in calligraphy. It's very nice. But it doesn't live well over the years. And it's very difficult to keep track of everything that happens to the watch. So if it has been serviced, when and how, what was changed, this is a very lengthy process. And the reality is that watch collectors don't tend to send back the certificate to update this information with the watch. They actually prefer to keep the passport just in case.
Right.
Well, suddenly the digital is giving us an opportunity, which is to put that online and update it. And the blockchain is giving the possibility to put that in an authenticated way that is protected. So you suddenly give the chance to someone to have a certificate that is digital, that is online, that you can show, that you can use, that keeps the history of the watch, that it keeps the history of the owners of the watch. So it's a real added value that is a no-brainer for any watch collector.
Indeed, indeed. The value is really compelling, I have to say. And I'm sure if anyone is collecting watches would understand that value, right? And I want to come back to maybe Fabian. You are doing, even one step further. Once they have, got because your program, your model is, end-to-end, implemented, incorporating all the disciplines. How could that expand into a full-scale, benefit model, advantage model?
So our approach is to look at the customer experience. We start from you, people collecting, willing to collect watches, and finding what is meaningful to you over the long-time relationship with your watch, to transfer your watch to the next generation, to transfer the watch to people because you want to go into another series. And the blockchain first was to, and we did it with Aura Blockchain Consortium, which is funded by Louis Vuitton, by Richemont, Mercedes as a main, OTB as a main holder. We use blockchain in order to keep the value of your product preserved. So you have the authenticity of your watch. You can show that your watch is genuine. It's preserving the value. So when you are going to trade it, you know that if you are removing the box, if you are removing the paper of your luxury watch, the value is diminishing. Here it's to protect it. And on top of that, if your watch was getting stolen, the blockchain will recognize that this limited series is not any longer available on the normal market, and that will make the value decrease and making the people willing to steal it less relevant. We've done this collaboration for the blockchain with Aura Blockchain Consortium. Then we went into Zurich Insurance to protect the watch in an embedded product, which means that when you buy the watch, you don't choose or opt in, opt out to get the insurance. You get it by default. 3 years of insurance, again being stolen, getting an accident, all the key events. So it means that when you are buying a luxury watches, to be sure that it's protected, that the transport is protected, that when you are traveling abroad, the watch is protected. This is how we've been reinforcing the value for the user without having to declare anything to the brand. It's automatically embedded in the product. Then we've been having more technical approach, which is a Web3 component, which is how do I engage when I go into a store? I'm looking at several watches. Maybe I will go to an airport to buy it. Maybe I will go to a duty-free or whatsoever. I want to have a tracking of my experience with a brand, and I want to be recognized. I want to be recognized as a customer that wants to engage with a brand that is already owning other watches. And this is where Salesforce, which is a CRM application, is enabling the brand and the shop to know who you are, how you get in contact with a model, why you have the model, have you been servicing it, which issue you were having with it, do you want to upgrade to more products. So we are looking at taking different actors from the different industry to make sure that when you are experiencing your watch, you get something that is simplifying your experience with your product, with a collection of products you have, multi-brands probably, and also having a different experience with a brand, because you are buying the product, it's emotional, you like to engage with the brand, and this is what we try to unlock.
That's very comprehensive, and from what I know, like the watch brands, some of the brands here under LVMH and Richemont, they are implementing and incorporating that level of certification, authentication on the blockchain. They have their own private blockchains as well. And it almost seems like everyone is jumping into this now, is to embrace it, right? And it's almost like, you know, all of a sudden, now the news is gone. We don't hear anything about it, and all of a sudden it's AI. And David, you are an expert in that field. What do you think is happening in the industry?
I'm a bit more pessimistic, to be honest. I think that we as humans tend to have this tendency of getting overexcited about new things, and especially people in technology get overexcited. I'm one of them. Remember just a few years back during the COVID, who remembered the social app called Clubhouse? Can you raise your hand?
Yeah.
Okay. Who is still on Clubhouse now? Can you raise your hand? Okay. So no one is on Clubhouse. You remember 3 years ago, in the same panel, everyone would have said, Clubhouse is the most beautiful, amazing social network. You are going to die and your brand will disappear if you don't go on Clubhouse. So just let's make that quite straight. Internet, if it was a human, would be at most a teenager. Okay, I have a teenager at home. He doesn't shave much. He complains, okay? He's not always on time, but he's a lovely kid apart from that. That's a bit the state of the internet right now, okay? So internet, you have plenty of technologies, innovation and so on, but the reality is that, at least in my humble opinion, The only thing that is really interesting is this idea that you mentioned of decentralization. That's the part that is really interesting. Now, if you ask the brands, if you ask the people around you, and you say, like, was it really critical to use the blockchain to do the use case that you build in your organization? I tried with all my clients. I didn't find one case in which the blockchain was mandatory. It was useful, sometimes it was relevant, sometimes it was not relevant, but in most of the cases, I think it has been exaggerated as a trend by the big consulting firm, by some of the advertising agency, but some people like me who were maybe a bit too optimistic about the future. But I think AI, and I like the fact that you asked the question, AI is a totally different topic. Okay? It's not about NFT and people collecting NFT or just showing a proof of identity or having a more secure network where we don't know yet the ecological impact. AI is something that is going to change the world in the next coming years. Okay? We, as society, as professionals, will have to adapt to that extremely fast. You might have seen that 2 days ago, Italy banned ChatGPT temporarily. Can you please raise your hand if you have already used ChatGPT? Can you raise your hand now if you never used ChatGPT? Okay, so for the 6 people who didn't use ChatGPT, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, try to use it in the next few days. This is becoming really important because those technologies used to be available for professionals only. But now everyone will be able to use them. So it means that for brands, for example, they will be able to automate a lot of things. When you go on an e-commerce website right now, it's very complicated. I tried to buy a product the other day, and I'm a digital professional for 20 years. I was like lost, and you change the window, and then you cannot edit the delivery date, the shipping date, and you don't understand the taxes. And when you add something on the basket, it's not seamless, it's not frictionless. AI will come. I want to buy a tag-a-year watch, okay? What are the best sites with at least 4.5 review out of 5 where I can be delivered in 3 days? And you will get the site, and you will be able to order. This is coming, It's coming in the next 3, 4, 5 years max. So that's a long answer to tell you that basically I feel that where everyone is still looking a lot at blockchain, NFT, and so on, in my opinion, half of the projects are dead within the 2 years. I think they are going to die. Question of funding, question of interest rate growing and people needing the working capital, not able to sustain the effort. A couple of platforms will stay, but they will have to demonstrate ecological reality and to see that the blockchain is really relevant from a sustainable standpoint. I think that would be key. And I think AI is going to become like the mainstream, an important discussion. That's in a nutshell.
That's brilliant. And I know, Xavier, you have some learnings from your implementation of the program, very relevant to that as well, knowing the blockchain is not the be-all and end-all, and there is only certain parts that you believe is really relevant to customers.
Well, again, it's true that there is always a lot of hype when something starts. And it's true that the blockchain has been associated with sales of items that were overly priced or extremely sensitive to speculation. And the first idea was that if you have a certificate, then it can also be a nice image and you could eventually sell it. But then you're losing your objective. The objective is a service to a client, to a person. And we're not selling thousands of watches and we don't know our clients. We know them and we like to write them personally. So this is really something that is making the life easier of whoever, of Kaz or of Mark or every individual. So you cannot let the system force you to enable the selling of the certificate. That's the first pitfall, to think that the certificate in itself becomes a sellable token, a sellable product. So it means that decentralization has a limit. You need to keep a certain control of these certificates. The second one is that at one point, you really need to identify the person. And a lot of these sales are done far away. So you deliver the product. How do you know that it's not the FedEx Polish guy that has stolen the box.
The package.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, FedEx, for not taking responsibility on that. And so there is this problem of how do I make sure I authenticate the person at the very beginning. And there are solutions to that, still working in progress. The last one, the last pitfall on which we fail, because it's more a matter of trial and error, is that you cannot ask the retailer to do that job. They have their business. They are selling your watches. You cannot ask them to make sure, okay, it's that guy, etc. They're not going to do it. Actually, even out of 100 certificates you would publish, you probably will get only 1/3 of the people who will actually naturally activate them. So it's not that easy to get people to do it.
Yeah.
Why? Because there is an insecure adoption of what is digital. And an hour ago, I was with a guy from Emilia-Romagna, fantastic, and he said, look, I waited a year to come here, place the order, but with a human being. So these are limitations. That's why we will keep the paper certificate, because they need it. But on top of that, we know that gradually we'll go to 1/3 of early adopters, to 2/3, and to 90% in the end. And in the end, these people will be happy to get a certificate that will live with the watch and will be always updated. But it's not no more than that.
Right. Yes. That's interesting from an actual practitioner of the technology to share that. This is an insight to know.
It is true that we were speaking about insurance. With the system we had, you could get an insurance in one click. But guess what? Helvetia is not ready to make an insurance outside the borders of Switzerland.
Right.
So you just have a solution for your 5-10% of Swiss clients if you want to deliver insurance worldwide to individuals. So it takes time to put in place things.
But I suppose there are certain streams of the technologies of this universe will remain, as we said. Certain parts would be hype and they will go away, but certain parts will stay. So what would you like? If I throw out this question on the table for all of you to say, what would be the impact and value, and customers and the market can anticipate going forward, in your view, from your professional experience, what do you see the market, will have? What can customers anticipate in terms of value and impact on them?
If I can just make a comment, it's all about generation. So we have in the room different generation, behaviors, approach of digitalness, approach of the product, of the emotion of luxury. So it's difficult to state that the below 25 that are spending few hours in virtual worlds to do video games might not adopt more heavily this in the coming years. It's difficult to state that people that have been purchasing the product for the physical touch, going into the store, and that are above 50 and have like this experience and real experience, will not change their behaviors. And in between, there will be the early adopters and people that are going to embrace the new. So I'm always cautious about a few things. We can discuss about the brands that are more or less active, but I remember when the internet was booming at the beginning, some people were stating, I will never buy shoes online. I will never buy clothes online. Doesn't make sense. So I would like to avoid that we take the same approach. I think that some people at the beginning were stating, Twitter, what's the point? Why do people are posting their picture online? So it's the same for Web3, it's the same for Metaverse. Maybe there is always a hype and then there is a burst and the core value is coming back. What I'm noticing in the conversation with the industry is that there is a race ongoing. So we've been seeing recently circularity products showing what was the origin of the product, tag into the shoes, tag into the bags, tag into the garments that are appearing. Something will appear and the brands and the companies will deliver more meaningful product, and you, as a customer, you will choose what is useful or not, but there is a course to a race to creativity, and NFTs, etc., is just an augmentation of the creativeness of the physical product and to convey what the brand would do. It's just, let's also take the time to observe those trends.
And
what is complicated is that obviously no one has a crystal ball. So we cannot predict the future, and obviously it will take a bit of time to see how things are going to evolve. But there are not many cases in the recent history, if you look at the last 50 years, where innovation has been like going extremely fast and then decreasing. For those of you who remember the Concorde, okay, able to do Paris to New York in less than 3 hours, that's one of the few examples of technology where now we have been going backwards. It takes more time to do New York to Paris than it used to take a while 30 years ago, right? It's a bit the same on some layers of technology of the internet, or on some usage of the internet. If you look at e-commerce sales for luxury right now, they are decreasing on e-commerce big time, you know? So with the COVID, the adoption went too fast, and now people can go back to the store, so they tend to favor a bit more the store. Does it mean that e-commerce is dead? No, e-commerce is still there. But the new usage, the AI, the chatbot I mentioned before, etc., will help in exactly as you mentioned. It's coming from the customer, and I think that's a very extremely important point, is can we improve the customer experience? Can we create something that will allow people to purchase a watch or a luxury product in a seamless way? Can we help people in facilitating their administrative life when it comes to VAT or tax handling and so on? Is there a way to facilitate the return, the exchanges, the strap, changing the strap? So I'm a firm believer into how the technology can help in creating more value, but I think we need to be careful of not thinking that technology will replace everything and by putting things in the blockchain that it will solve all our problems.
well said. So yeah.
Well, it will come, and we will fail to make it come, because it's not as easy as it looks. And it takes a lot of trials and errors to get there. But in the end, of course, we don't know at the beginning how far it will go. So it's just a matter of mentality to say, okay, let's try it, let's test it, let's do our best. And we had to change from Adresta to Aura, because Adresta was bought by one of our partners, actually. So it was a big surprise, but it's a life of companies also. And this helped us restart from zero, doing things better, and knowing better where we were going. So it's true that most of the outcomes are to be discovered. There is a vision of where we want to go, where the watch collectors receive a much better service thanks to a seamless system that takes track of everything and can share information. But the watch collector also loves to make a call.
Yeah, exactly.
And speak to a human and say, hey, help me with this, or can you reserve me that watch? And that's also where we have to be.
Indeed, indeed. Very illuminating discussions. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for bringing in your expertise and insights into these topics as well. Fascinating. And thank you, everyone, for coming today. And this is the end of the panel.
Thank you, Sky.
And good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Merci.